The following podcast contains adult language and themes, so don't say we didn't fucking warn you.
You're listening to SarahTalk. It's political.
Whatever the condition is in their home country is so bad that they're willing to go through that long, arduous trek to get here, where we've promised this American dream idea. The least we could fucking do is when they knock on our door or help them.
Critical.
Look, whenever there's someone coming after my community, they are either wearing a MAGA hat, carrying a Bible, or more often both.
And positively LGBT positive.
In many states, you can still be evicted from housing simply for being gay or transgender. Stand and fight with us.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
Oh, they're shutting us down. They're deplatforming us. I knew a pretty good Alex Jones once. They're turning the frogs gay.
Okay, you're sleeping in a child's room tonight because there's no way you're sleeping next to me. That is disgusting. I'm going to have nightmares.
And now, from Orlando, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
Hey everybody, welcome to SarahTalk. I'm your host, Sarah Austin, in with the lovely Becca.
Hello.
It is episode 152.
152.
February 9th, 2019. On the show tonight, more Project Blitz legislation. Politicians are celebrating Black History Month in blackface. And the longest Florida man story ever told.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait.
But first, Lynchburg, Virginia is hosting its first ever Pride event this year on April 13th. And joining us to tell us more about Hill City Pride, live from a secret lair near Liberty University, Marc Propst and Chris Badgett. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to hear about this.
Thank you for having us.
So Marc is the Deputy Executive Director of Spectrum Arts Society, and Chris is the Artistic Director and Social Media Strategist. So let's start with the parent organization here, Spectrum Arts Society. What do you all do, and how did you both get involved?
Chris, how about you start?
It happened around the fall of 2016. I had a friend named Josh Klein who moved up from Florida and to come back home to the Virginia, Appalachia area. And everyone didn't believe that a gay chorus could exist in Lynchburg, Virginia. And so we set out to do the best of we all can do by singing and voicing our rights as LGBT people and showing that we can exist in the same town as Liberty University.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, after we had the choir get started, we have the choir named Inspirare. We decided to expand our programming to start Hill City Pride, to carry on the legacy of folks like the founders of Soul Force, Snow White, and the people of First Christian Church over on Rivermont Avenue, to show that we're still here and we're still just regular people like everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Hill City Pride, we're excited to have the very first official festival that's entitled Hill City at Hillcat Stadium. And Marc, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, so this event, it came out of really just out of nowhere. We were sitting, I believe, in a boardroom meeting, and we were just starting to talk about this idea. And I knew and we kind of just started tossing the idea around and seeing how feasible this idea could be in a place like Lynchburg, Virginia. Because, with the connotations of both having Liberty University, that is the main point of contention on any map, and then the city being named Lynchburg, Virginia, there's a lot that has to be talked about. There's a lot that has to be very carefully driven through. And so that's kind of what we were discussing. And then I made a contact with the Hillcats, who are our local Lynchburg baseball team, and I made a contact with there, and we started talking about it, and they said, yeah, let's try this out, and then it just shot up from there. And so then we have been working really every day, every single day, just working on sponsors, venders, getting entertainment, getting everything all straightened out for this event. And I am very hopeful that it will be a successful event. I would love to see so many people there. It is an important event because it gives the importance of inclusivity, of that Lynchburg is bigger than what many people may see and what many people may know about Lynchburg.
Yeah.
And so that is one of our biggest pieces. And we know it's a community event. It's a family friendly event. And so we want to make sure that when we talk about that to everyone else, that we hosted our first Pride, we're showing that we gave the city this event that helps to further move the dialogue of LGBT issues throughout the city and beyond.
Yeah, I am at the moment. I'm one of those people that when I take on a thing, I do it to the extreme. There's no middle ground. I either do it or I don't, And
Yep.
And I am huge into community organizing right now. The area where we live is very red-leaning, lots of churches, very rural, and so I was working on someone with starting up a trans social group, and the wheels turned a little slower on that one, but we're also have started an atheist community organization here, which is taking off, and I absolutely love. I love the providing community particularly in an area where there's a need, and where it's just maybe a little unexpected for that kind of an area.
Mm-hmm.
So we interviewed Danica Rome way back in the day, and we were thrilled when she stomped anti-LGBT 25-year incumbent Bob Marshall for the seat in the House of Delegates. But I think we were all like, I'm sorry, what? An openly trans person was elected in Virginia? What?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Something we thought would never could happen.
Right? Oh, so great. Now, and of course, her district is that's a ways away from you all, so the social climate might be a little different. And again, you have the unique honor of having Liberty University in your backyard. What is the community like there? What's the vibe like there in Lynchburg?
Really, the vibe is actually, so it's funny because, so this is a big college town. We have within the Lynchburg region 5 colleges and universities. So there are a lot of students, who come in from all over the world, really, to Lynchburg, and it's much different than what many people may see it as. But that's kind of the issue that we have been working with, is that it's bigger than, the social climate is bigger and better than what people may think it is. It is safer. I mean, I go to the University of Lynchburg, and I started the Office of Equity and Inclusion here at the University of Lynchburg because there was a need for it. And I was one of the co-founders of this office because it was needed, that there was a lot of issues of safety, and there was no real forum or no real resource to be able to have that dialogue. And that's what I did with a team of others to be able to bring that dialogue forward. And then since then, it's expanded now to the Lynchburg community, where I'm now doing this. And it's just, it's fun to deal with. I mean, it is bigger than what people may think it is, but there are a lot of times that it's hidden. There's the meme from The Lion King that says, here's Liberty University, and then everything that the sun touches is Liberty University, but there's that little dark spot that people are not supposed to go to. And that's kind of a meme that runs around, but I think that it is more than just that little dark space. I mean, this is a vibrant community. We have a lot of amazing LGBT people in our area. They are in amazing positions in their companies, and they're just as well very active in the community. It's just that there's not a lot around for them to be able to get active to, and so then it's hard for them to try and be the person that they want to be when there's no real space. And I think that that's what Hill City Pride is going to be able to help bring, is that space.
I love that, especially when, one of the things we talk about on the show a lot is, various states and the national challenge to incorporate civil rights protections for LGBT people. Florida is considering 2 competing bills that right now for a state level protection. And in light of how do I want to say that? In the lack of such protections, right? When the government won't protect us legally, it's I think even more important to have that community and events that people can get together, and it demonstrates that that the cities are going to be supportive. And when you have here we have huge corporations coming out saying, no, actually, we should protect people. We're good with diversity because that's actually better for our business. So if you guys could stop being so biggody, that would be nice. We want to attract people to come work and spend money here. So
right, and that's an important piece too that I think that I have seen in my experience as a diversity and inclusion world is that businesses are now realizing that the world is way more diverse than what many people think, and that is going to be what kind of another positive to Hill City Pride is that our vendors are going to be able to have that economic attraction and that promotion to the LGBT and ally group that they are also here. They also support our issues, and they also support our organization, and they also support all of our discussions that we're having. And it is so important for a lot of companies to really realize that your employees compose of more than just what you might think it does, and being able to bring out those issues and being able to accept those people. Yes, it is hard, but it is not only the future, it's going to be the future for your company, because you may not get the same employees, especially nowadays with culture and social culture that, are much more accepting of, are much more aware of LGBT issues, are much more cognizant and promoting of LGBT issues, then they are going to look at a company's culture and say whether or not they really want to be a part of that culture if that is what they do.
Right. Absolutely. And it's crazy to think that, businesses understand that if I want to be successful, if I want to make money, if I want to grow my business, I need talent. I need top talent. I need people who know what the hell they're doing, and I don't really care anything else about them. Really. I'll hire anyone who is the best fit for this job, who will bring positive change and drive our business forward, and all of the other factors about them aside shouldn't factor into that. And especially with big companies, we see that. But I thought it was interesting you're talking about maybe some of the stigma that comes along with Lynchburg. Liberty University is known for, well-known alumni like conservative religion leader and university president Jerry Falwell Jr., son of televangelist Jerry Falwell Sr., president of the SPLC Hate Group Family Research Council, Tony Perkins, also alumni. And it's funny, I was just Googling around, and when you search Liberty University, it's so funny, in the people also ask thing that comes up on Google results, the first question is Liberty University a real college? Which I just thought was delightful. But I think this speaks a little bit to maybe what the outside perception is of this city. And I think what you guys are doing is a huge step forward in changing those perceptions.
And being in a space where, I go to a church that is very LGBTQ plus friendly. We used to have a gay pastor. A lot of the student body from Liberty University come over to our church. They have come to our drag shows and all kinds of things.
That's great.
And even those that are not of the community have come over to say, I don't want Liberty University to be the representation that you think I am. The student body and some of the faculty there even are total opposite of what their administration is for. And there's been multiple students that's been on Twitter and Facebook speaking out against all of the hate and just basically the crazy talk that comes from the administration.
And a lot of interactions that I have had with both the student body and faculty and staff, it's they are open-minded, and so it's important that we joke and we judge. Well, we judge a little bit, and we say all these different things about Liberty or about some others in the community that are kind of that way. But it's so much bigger than what they may be portraying. It's just we never try and read a book by its cover, because the Liberty University has a big open understanding of LGBT rights and LGBT issues and dialogues, and even though they don't publicly say it, there's still a lot of people that actually don't believe in it, even though they may work there or they may go to school there. And I think that's an important piece too, is that we may see a lot of people at Pride that will be from Liberty, no matter where they come from, no matter who they are, just students or faculty staff that may come from Liberty that want to be there because they want to be there to support Pride. And they may have never been at a Pride festival before. And so being able to give them that interaction that they may never be able to have before, they may have never been able to get before, it's something that is important for our entire thing. And
a lot of them are still afraid to come out into the community to support the LGBTQ+. Because if you're found out being friends with someone that is LGBTQ+, or you're helping them if they're homeless or they need food or they need drink, if you help them there, or if you just know someone, or if you're accused of being of someone like that, they'll either charge you $500, they'll tell you that you're not allowed to graduate, they'll kick you out of school. It's 2019. Let these people be free.
Right. Well, religion sort of has a PR problem. Particularly Christianity in America is in a state of evolution, and unfortunately, the loudest voices are the God hates fags people, right? They're the ones that get the media attention. They're the ones that control the narrative right now, really, and they're the ones that are filing all this nonsense in the legislatures. Making it so that adoption agencies can deny service to gay or lesbian or non-Christian couples or whatever. And so the counter to that has to be the more progressive churches, the more progressive Christians have to come out and support the community, and they have to take control of the narrative from the extremists and say, look, that's a loud, small group of people, and they don't speak for us, and we're not going to let them speak for us anymore. And I think, I've probably said this before, in order for religion to remain relevant in our society, they're going to have to do that, or we're going to leave them behind. So what I think is interesting is, we go out to our local Pride events, and there are churches that come out and set up their tents and welcome, people into their doors and open their arms, and so the work is starting to be done, I guess. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree. I mean, it's just an important thing that we do. And, it's something, for me as a 21-year-old black gay male, it is not something that a lot of people get. I'm in school, I'm about to graduate college, and I'm here as a part of a team that is putting together one of the first Pride festivals in Lynchburg, Virginia, in 2019, with a lot of the trying to battle the perception that we get, and religion does play a big part of it, because there are a lot of churches that are actually very, very open and welcoming to them, but to us as the LGBT, but many people actually don't know that either, and so then. We're trying to get in contact with them, and we're talking to them, and we're asking them if they want to be vendors, and we're asking them if they want to come and support. And, a lot of them are saying yes. And so we're showing that it's a multifaceted system. It's a multifaceted just platform that we're building together to build this organization.
And that's what it takes. Absolutely. I didn't mean to go this far down the rabbit hole.
No, it's fine.
So then tell us some more about the event itself, Hill City Pride. It sounds like from what I read, you may have faced some, I don't know, maybe not opposition necessarily, but some doubt. Like people weren't sure that this would even get off the ground.
Yeah. So many people of our own community have said this will never happen. We just want to stay in our own little cliques and just be in the shadows. And quite frankly, I believe that maybe just at our first event, it might just be a bunch of supporters, straight people, and maybe a handful of LGBTQ plus that are ready to change this community. But so far, we have planned with University of Lynchburg and Randolph College and Sweetbriar College to have an entire week of festivities. I know University of Lynchburg has called it Rainbow Week before. So on April 7th at the Water Jog at downtown Lynchburg, which is a great place to eat, we're going to have a drag brunch there to start the week off. And then throughout the week, there'll be various events at those three colleges. We're going to have Delighted to Be Here from America's Got Talent. She'll be here to give her program called Drag 101 about what it's like being a drag queen.
Oh, that's fun.
How different people can be drag queens, not just gay men, but transgender women, transgender men, non-binary, like everyone can be a drag something.
Yeah.
And then that Friday we'll have a little kickoff party, and then Saturday, on April 13th at the Hillcat Stadium, the whole big shebang will happen.
Awesome.
Dan has already provided the
the
links.
Yeah, Dan is our official, unofficial researcher, already sharing out links in the chat on the live stream.
Oh wow!
Thank you, Dan. Dan's the best. Dan was talking about even in Deep Red, Arizona, has 2 Pride events per year, and the list of LGBT-friendly businesses who participate grows constantly.
And then he added that was actually just Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff have their own. So that was just in Phoenix has too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And even in Virginia, like Stanton, Patrick County, many of these rural areas where you just hear about the bad things, the KKK and all kinds of things. They're all having their own pride events as well, and it's just a great movement of celebration of just life, love, and happiness.
I love it. Well, before we let you go, then, is there anything else we didn't get through that you wanted to make sure we talked about?
You know, we just want to make sure that we continue to show that our organization is meant to be inclusive of everyone, and this event is going to be inclusive to everyone, and really the entire event is going to be more than just a regular Pride Festival. It is meant to, since it's this first one, it means a lot. And so it is going to be it's going to be a great event. And I can't wait for it to happen. It's going to be just full of people being able to be themselves in a space that is safe for them. And it's going to help us move. It's going to help us move forward the dialogue to make Lynchburg bigger than what it is showing, what it is on the map, what it is just in people's perceptions. It is bigger than what it is. It is safe for people to come to. It is something that people can enjoy their time at. It is a beautiful city, has a beautiful amount of landscapes, a lot of great bars. And so it is better than what people think it is, and that is what we're going to show. So I cannot wait for it to happen. It is April 13th, starting at 12 and ends at 5. And then we have an after party too.
Cool. Very nice.
Nice.
All right. Well, I absolutely... Oh, go ahead.
Before Sarah cuts you loose, because I just wanted to say congratulations to you both for everything you've accomplished. This sounds really cool. Check back in with us. I want to know how it went. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it grows for you, because I know our local festival, we've watched it grow for the past 3 years. So I'd be interested to know what happens next year.
Yeah.
Yes, we will make sure that we keep up. We'll let you guys know, and we may even come back on the show for another.
Yeah, we would love that.
Absolutely.
And I know how much damn work this kind of stuff takes. So you
guys
are
everyday thing. Weekends doesn't seem to happen. It just stops. It stops when everyone is asleep, and sometimes I'm not asleep till 1 o'clock. So it doesn't seem like it never ends at this point.
Well, you're doing good work, and I think I think anything that builds community for a marginalized group, particularly in an area that needs it, is a worthy endeavor, and I love that you guys are doing it.
Thank you so much again.
All right. Well, if you're going to be in the Lynchburg, Virginia area, mark your calendars. April 13th, 2009 at the Lynchburg Hillcat Stadium. But there's other events going on around then as well. Visit hillcitypride.org for more information. Mark?
Fun fact.
Oh.
Lynchburg's population in 2017, according to Dan, was 81,000 people.
I don't know how that stacks up.
So I don't know what that is, but that does seem little, like a small number.
Yeah.
So
it's not big. Not terribly big. All right. Well, Mark, Chris, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, and we'll be in touch and see how things go.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let's, do I want to roll through the break? Yeah. Let's do this. Dude,
I get a dude.
14 pages on the thing tonight.
All right, fine.
Okay. Rachel and or Heath say, awesome, congrats to Virginia. Keep it up, you guys. Sending you love and good vibes. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think they're, I love that that community building.
Yep.
I think it's great. And
we need more of it.
And I'm sure that for me comes from growing up in a place that didn't have a thing.
Sure. Oh yeah.
You know, there was no center. There was there were no resources. There wasn't an LGBT section in the library. Like there was nothing. And so okay.
Comparatively,
so Dan's
yes.
comparing. All right, Orlando's population in 2018 was 280,000 compared to Lynchburg's 81,000.
That gives
Maybe
you some
we'll go.
perspective. Yeah.
Okay, so let's dig into some news then.
News.
And
Is
I'll,
it new news?
Yeah, and I'll try not to keep you up too late.
Oh Jesus.
Well, just when you thought the Catholic Church was at its worst, what with scandal after scandal of child sexual abuse and the organization protecting pedophile priests, they just got worse.
How could that happen?
This week, Pope Francis has admitted that clerics have sexually abused nuns. In one case, his predecessor, Pope Benedict, shut down an entire congregation of nuns who were being abused by priests. He said, quote, Pope Benedict had the courage to dissolve a female congregation, which was at a certain level, because this slavery of women had entered it. Slavery, even to the point of sexual slavery, on the part of clerics or the founder.
Ooh.
Last November, the Catholic Church's global organization for nuns denounced the culture of silence and secrecy that prevented them from speaking out, and just days ago, the Vatican women's magazine, Women Church World, condemned the abuse, saying in some cases nuns were forced to abort priests' children, which, of course, goes against everything Catholics stand for. Pope Francis also said this week that the church was attempting to address the problem, but said it was still going on. Have you called the police, Francis?
Right.
If we're gonna address, or are we just moving them around again? Are you just doing assignment shuffles? Is that handling it? Is that what we're doing?
Oops, we got to separate the children now. No, that only works until they're like 5 and only with children. When children do something wrong.
Right. And yes, I misgendered Becca because I used dude as a
I wasn't really, I don't care.
I don't use it as
But she doesn't dude me very often. I was just startled that I got the dude. I don't ever get the dude.
So yeah, and Dan says it's like Star Trek where all officers are addressed as sir. Okay. Breakout. I have to constantly remind myself of that sort of military structure because I work with people and most of the people that do the sir thing to me at work are our security guards, and they're trained security. They have licenses. A lot of them are former law enforcement or military. And so that hierarchy culture of you're my superior officer, I say sir, regardless of your gender, which I think is wrong, is built into them. And so I get it a lot at work, and it used to bother me, but not so much anymore. I think I don't care anymore.
I say own it. You sir me, I'm going to say that's bitch to you.
I want to talk about a story this week from the Miami Herald. A federal jury found that the Conrad Hotel in Brickell retaliated against a religious dishwasher by firing her for being unable to work on Sundays and awarded her $21.5 million. Now, we've talked about these stories before, right? Like, generally, if you know what the schedule is expected to be, and you accept the position and get hired, if you don't mention at that point, like, hey, I can't work on Sundays or whatever,
right?
Then too bad. You accepted the job, you knew what you're getting into, and you, like, okay, it requires nights and weekends. You can't go into Target and say, oh, I know I took this job that the posting said requires nights and weekends, but I'm sorry, I can't work nights. Like, that's not a thing you can do. Marie Jean-Pierre worked at the Conrad from 2006 to 2016. The hotel knew about her involvement with Soldiers of Christ Church that prevented her from working Sundays, but in 2015, her boss assigned her to work Sundays anyway. If I remember right, and somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, please do.
Dan, get your Bing ready.
An employer generally has to make a religious accommodation like that, as long as it doesn't constitute like a substantial burden on the business. Right, so we talked about a case last year about a Florida trucking company that was sued for discrimination. Do you remember this? It was a milk route.
Yeah.
So the company won in that case because the employee, a Jehovah's Witness, was on a local route that required flexibility because he was hauling milk, and milk production doesn't take days off. So the trucking company made efforts to make schedules consistent, but the nature of the business was too unpredictable, and their solution was to remove him from the milk route, since he couldn't work on Sundays, and offer him other routes. He wasn't satisfied with that because the other routes didn't pay as well.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's the reason the milk route paid better was because of the
Right. It messes with your life. You're on call or whatever.
Ugh.
So in that case, the business made efforts to accommodate a religious request.
Sure.
And if you can't work on Sunday, and the routes that we have that allow for that don't pay as well, well, we're still trying to accommodate your religious
and it works this way with most all accommodations, religious or otherwise. If the company is showing that they're trying to offer you a solution to the conundrum, then that's all they're really legally required to do, as I understand it, right? Because when I had to take a medical leave of absence, I had to do so because they couldn't accommodate my work restrictions, because my restrictions were not based on something that happened at work. It was a pre-existing condition.
Right.
So they were like, well, we can't accommodate that, so you're going to have to take a leave until you're better, or whatever it was when I broke my foot.
Right. So what's different here, the dishwasher and the milk driver, right? So for the dishwasher, in order to get Sundays off, coworkers voluntarily switched shifts.
It happens a lot.
For several weeks, but the supervisor ultimately demanded that she show up anyway. When she refused, he fired her.
Well,
and that's where they crossed the line. So switching shifts, as long as that's something that employees can normally do in the regular course of whatever, well, that should have been the end of it.
Right. The only time that I think that would cross any lines is if, like, she was giving those shifts away and other people were getting overtime pay because they were working more. But if she was switching shifts, it shouldn't have affected their bottom line. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. You still have the shift cover. It's not overtime. It's not whatever. Right. And Dan confirmed my substantial burden threshold. So state and federal laws limit the amount Pierre can actually receive. Of the $21.5 million, she can only take $100,000 to $300,000. Not entirely sure how that works or where the rest of that money goes, but there you go. Reasonable accommodations required.
Yeah. Reasonable is the key word there, I think.
Right.
If you're being unreasonable with your acceptance of accommodations offered, then sorry.
Okay. I'm just going to hard shift gears on you right now.
Oh, man, I hate it when she does this.
And
okay.
Well, this
is one of those hard shifts where you need to warn us
we're
going down like
we're going
a drop.
down, and we're going to take a break afterwards because we're all going to need it. Okay, go ahead.
Rachel or Keith? I think it's probably Rachel.
You need to identify yourself.
Oh my God, I still want my own Dan better than Google. Anyway. Now.
So there's a heartbreaking story out of Wisconsin this week. So content warning for child torture and death. If you need to turn the thing off and come back in a little bit.
All right, I'll see you guys after the break.
You can't.
Damn it.
And then we'll take a break because we're all going to need it. In April of last year, 7-year-old Ethan Haschultz was found unresponsive in a relative's home. At the time, authorities said his death was suspicious, but didn't release any more information. Well, we now know that 7-year-old boy was beaten, forced to carry around a 44-pound log and was buried in the snow before he died as punishment for not having memorized Bible verses. Now, a 15-year-old boy and 2 adults have been charged with Ethan's murder. Damien Hausholtz, 15, is charged with first-degree reckless homicide and 6 other charges. In Wisconsin, juveniles charged with certain homicide counts are tried as adults. Damien's father, Timothy Hausholtz, 48, is charged with felony murder and 5 other charges. Tina McKeever Hausholtz, 35, is charged with failing to prevent bodily harm and intentionally contributing to the delinquency of a child. According to the complaint, Timothy and Tina were court-appointed guardians for Ethan, and 2 of his siblings. Doesn't indicate if or how they were related. Okay, so strap in or hit mute for a minute. Here's what happened. Timothy, the father, ordered Ethan to be punished by carrying a heavy wooden log weighing 44 pounds, which is about 2/3 of the boy's body weight, for 2 hours around a predetermined path in a snowy area outside their home. Damien, the 15-year-old, was instructed to supervise the punishment. While Ethan struggled to carry the log, Damien allegedly hit, kicked, struck, and poked Ethan about 100 times, sometimes using a belt or stick. Damien rolled the heavy log across Ethan's chest, stood on him while Ethan was face down in a puddle, and then buried him in a snowbank for more than 20 minutes without a coat or boots. Ethan has a twin, who was also ordered to undergo the punishment, and Damien repeatedly struck that child too. According to the medical examiner, Ethan died of hypothermia, but had extensive other injuries, including blunt force injuries to his head, chest, and abdomen, and a rib fracture. Timothy told police that the log walking was a form of discipline, but he was not home when the incident happened. Damien had called him twice because Ethan wasn't moving. So, police get the story from Damien. Damien admitted to hitting Ethan 100 times, but said he, quote, didn't do anything that would have hurt. He also admitted to covering Ethan in snow. He described Ethan as being covered, quote, in his own little coffin of snow. End of quote. Oh, what fucking child talks like that? Just trying to get through this. Ethan had to carry the log for not knowing 13 Bible verses to Timothy's satisfaction. He was to carry the log in the snow 2 hours a day, not just this day, for 1 whole week, 2 hours a day. And this whole thing just makes me sick. Another thing that burns my ass about this too, some of my friends shared this article on their various social media timelines, and I'm pissed off about some of the non-local reporting. Right? There was the news channel back home that shared the story. And they conveniently didn't report on the, quote, discipline to memorize Bible verses part of it. They left that out. Don't Christ wash this stuff.
Right.
And those facts are available from the police reporting.
Right.
Where's the journalistic integrity of, like, putting out an article that doesn't have all those facts? Are you intentionally watering it down, leaving it out because it's in a Christian-dominant area?
That's exactly
or are you just a bad fucking journalist?
Well,
like, you know what I mean?
But yes.
This was a religiously motivated torture and death. Period. Full stop. and it needs to be reported that way. I need a drink and a break. So let's do this. Let's take a break. And we'll try to lighten the mood when we come back.
I would hope so.
Well, if the audio files will play, I'll take a break.
This mouse is a piece of shit. Dead.
All right.
It's dead again.
We'll be back. You're listening to Sarah Talk.
Are you ready for your first card? As I look at the set I placed down for you, I see an interesting things rising. Some of it has to deal with love and money and changes, and hopefully they're going to be for the better. Now your first card represents your situation, maybe some problems you've been having, maybe a little bit about yourself. Your first card is sorrow. This card is letting us know that there is some type of disruption in your life. Not that it's a big deal, but this card is giving off a strange vibe of anxiety. Actually, this card is warm in my hand. Oh, now caller, if you listen here, I'm seeing in the cards. Oh, yes, the 45 of mangoes. The 45 of mangoes card says you're going to go on to Patreon and subscribe because there is nothing better than giving when receiving. What will you ask me? Find out now and I see for you. Call me now for a free tarot reading.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I was embarrassed and a little scared.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
I thought it would just make things worse.
It was tough at first, but I did it. It ended up taking a huge weight off my shoulders.
I feel a lot better.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked for help.
I asked for help.
I asked my teacher. I asked my aunt.
I asked my dad.
I asked my mom.
I asked the Trevor Project.
Now, I feel like I can get through this.
I know that I am brave.
You can do this.
You can do this.
You can do this.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7. Ask for help.
Hello, this is Victoria from Everett, Washington, and you are listening to Sarah Talk. You lucky people.
Thanks, Victoria. Welcome back to Sarah Talk. Let's bring the mood back up. Let's talk about straw shaming.
No more straw shaming. Seriously. It's a plastic straw that I use all the time. I just don't use it here. When I use it here, I have a good reason. I have a migraine, and I've been clenching my teeth all day, so to pick the glass up and drink it like a normal person, it hurts.
Okay.
That's all.
Anything else going on in the chat?
I don't know.
Victoria says, I don't know about hell, but there's a special place in the state pen for these monsters.
Mm-hmm. Dan said he's already drinking.
Well, I mean, I was drinking too. I just needed to...
More.
Yeah.
We've determined that it is Rachel in the chat.
Yes.
No more straw shaming.
I'm surprised we haven't combined Facebook profile shamed them.
I try not to shame people I actually like.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's
Even
right.
when they do things that I don't necessarily think are cool. Like buy Backstreet Boys albums.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
God. Why do you...
Nope, it's all good. I don't hate the Backstreet Boys. They're just
okay.
Not as good as some boy bands.
Moving on. Before that, you start an international family incident.
There's going to be a war.
So we're going to do a segment tonight that I'm calling, What the fuck is happening in Virginia? And I got to tell you, I so badly wanted to talk to the guys about this because it's Virginia. And one of them has a a background in political science. And I was like, oh, please, can we talk about this? But as representatives of their organization, they have to stay apolitical. And
Yeah.
I was like, damn it. Too bad these happened on the same week, because I would have you back to talk about politics. Anyway, when I sit down to put the show together, I try to group stories by topic generally, right? Like at the end of the day, my goal would be to have a 3-segment show, right? LGBT, religion, and politics. But the Venn diagram is just so much overlap with those that there's no way to separate them out into actual good, like easily separated segments. So, the next 3 stories I've grouped together because what the fuck is happening in Virginia? The first of these 3 stories, the entire leadership of the state appears to be crumbling as now 3 top state officials are mired in scandals.
You don't say.
Democratic Governor Ralph Northam's career hangs in the threads of an old 1984 medical school yearbook photo that surfaced. A photo of 2 people, not clear which was Northam, one in Klan robes and the other in blackface. First, he apologized. Then he said, wait, no, I don't think that's me in the picture. And then he said, okay, I'm still not convinced that's me in the picture, but I absolutely have put on blackface and performed as Michael Jackson at a dance concert once. As if that makes it any better.
Hey, you remember that time? Well, we've said it quite a number of times whenever people go, why are you always picking on the Republicans?
Right.
When we said we're going to call out the Democrats when
Yep.
they do shitty things too, here you are. Here's an example.
And there's more.
I'm sure.
Scores of politicians on both sides of the aisle have called for his resignation.
As should be expected.
Right. If Governor Northam resigns, this is so great. If Governor Northam resigns, then the flowchart plays out the scenario like this, right? And this is if all the people involved resign. Okay. There are other scenarios with different outcomes if, 2 of the 3. Okay. So if Northam resigns, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, Democrat, moves up and would be the state's second black governor. Except that he's up to his ass in a sexual assault allegation. Vanessa Tyson came forward, putting out a detailed statement saying he forced her to perform oral sex on him in a hotel room at a 2004 Democratic National Convention in Boston. Fairfax has repeatedly denied the allegations, arguing the encounter did happen, but was consensual, and that he's a victim of a well-timed political smear campaign.
Chat is on fire here.
Go.
Victoria says, due to rampant stupidity, this week's Florida man will be replaced by a Virginia politician.
Yes.
Oh.
So should both of them find themselves out of office? Next in line, Attorney General Mark Herring, another Democrat, would become governor. And Herring had been planning to run for governor in 2021, except that Wednesday, Herring acknowledged that he, too, had blackfaced it up in college, wearing brown makeup and a wig to look like a rapper at a party in 1980. So again, to your point, I want to make clear, these are all Democrats.
Yeah.
We are liberals. Our show, we are left-leaning. Our show certainly reflects this. But we'll call them out wherever they are. It's not acceptable either way. Everybody's got to clean their own house, right?
It's like the dominoes are falling, though, in this particular scenario, which makes it a little funny. So we're laughing, but it doesn't.
Right.
I hope that doesn't take away from how horrible
and
serious these allegations and behaviors are.
Yep. Particularly the sexual assault allegation thing.
Yeah.
We had a local thing happen here with a headmaster at a Christian school, and the people on social media I was so angry that I had to calm myself down to write the official statement from our atheist group that said, look, we feel real bad that this kid had this stuff happen to him, and I hope that he gets the help that he needs at evidence-based, secular, whatever therapy, whatever he needs. But the people on social media that were like, oh, well, you don't know him. You only heard one side of the story, and I've known this man for years, and that's not who he is, and innocent until proven guilty? Like, stop it. We have to take these allegations seriously when they come out. And if it susses out that they're making shit up to smear somebody, then it does. But
but hold the trial, find the evidence, and then go forward. It drives me nuts when that happens, because it's not just sex abuse cases. A kid walks into a school with a gun, and everybody that knew the kid, they either have one opinion of the kid, or they're saying that same thing. Oh, we would have never guessed.
Yeah, I had no idea.
No idea.
He's such a good kid.
Right. Like, so that's a very common defense mechanism within our social, I don't know what it is, but it's like we've got to turn that off and just stop. It doesn't matter what your idea of what this person was, because now they've done something or been accused of doing something horrible, and you need to get to the bottom of that. And you can't base it all the time on what their history is.
Right.
People snap sometimes.
Did we talk about that story last week?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think it was this week. Maybe I'll throw it in as a last-minute edition.
Let's get through the 16,000 pages you already have.
The social media wingnuts made me laugh with all of this, because when the calls for resignation started flooding in, all the MAGA heads came out of the woodwork like, oh, look at the Democrats eating their own. Like this is so satisfying to see this. No, look, Bill, they're trying to hold their own accountable, which is what you should have done the minute Trump's pussy-grabbing tape came out, or when we learned he paid off Stormy Daniels after his affair, or this. Okay, this is a long list. I'm not gonna read them all.
Or any of the 32,000 other times he did something ridiculously stupid and fucked up. How about that?
Hold your own accountable. That's all I'm saying.
Not difficult. Just takes some balls.
In the admittedly unlikely scenario that all three of these men leave office, that would move Republican Speaker of the House, Kirk Cox, up to governor. And again, it's more likely that one or two, but not all three. But again, what the fuck is happening in Virginia?
No.
Another Virginia story making headlines. Virginia is considering the Project Blitz bill, the Bible Literacy Act, which the Florida legislature is also working through. That would force public schools in the state to offer Bible courses to students. And we've been screaming about Project Blitz for so long and so often, I wonder if maybe we shouldn't just start a spin-off Blitz Watch Project podcast or something. I don't know.
You're getting obsessed now.
This is important shit, and people need to care about it.
I know. I understand.
Anyway, this one was filed by Republican State Senator Charles Carrico. Like all of the others floating around various state houses, this one is ripped right from the pages of the Project Blitz Playbook 2. It calls for religious neutrality, but by making the class specifically on the Bible, it favors Christianity as nowhere near neutral. And I'm not going to go through the full details of this bill. Again, we've talked about it at great length before. But I do want to play an interesting exchange on the Senate floor in the last few minutes of debate Monday before they voted on the bill. Democratic Senator John Edwards is the first voice you'll hear, making the argument that a Bible class like this violates the First Amendment and Virginia statute for religious freedom, written by Thomas Jefferson. Carrico responds, and then he's challenged by Democratic Senator Janet Howell, asking the question we should all be asking, any lawmaker that files or supports these bills. Have a listen.
Like the Old Testament and the New Testament, or the combination thereof, it doesn't offer anything beyond that. It is an elective, that's true. But I think if you're going to study religion in the public school system as a subject matter, then at minimum you should teach other religions around the world. Yes, we have the three major Western religions that are believe in a God: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And there's also, by the way, the Sikh religion in India, a very small religion that believes in a God as well. But there are other religions throughout the world that don't necessarily believe in a God. Hinduism, Buddhism, of course, Confucianism, Shinto, in Japan. In fact, I spent a year in Japan, and in the Marines, and most Japanese would tell you they're both Shinto and life and Buddhist and death. And there's no distinction really. I mean, there's no contrast. That is, it's not inconsistent to do that. So not every religion is even a theocratic religion. The Western ones are. The Eastern ones really are not theocratic for the most part. And so, Mr. President, I think this really borders on being unconstitutional if it was passed in violation of the Jefferson Statute for Religious Freedom in Virginia, but also the First Amendment as establishing a religion in terms of it limits the teaching strictly to the Old Testament and the New Testament. And that's all. So, Mr. President, I would urge this body not to support this bill.
That's damn skippy.
Thank you.
Right? That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Again, it preferences a religion. Even if it's voluntary, it preferences one religion. If this is not a statement of the SarahTalk podcast or any other formal organization, but my opinion is, if they were to put in a voluntary program, elective class, of studying world religions, I would be all for that. Just like he described. Study them all. Why specify just the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
Put them all up there. Again, because when you put them all up side by side and you find out that putting a baby in a basket and sending it down the river isn't unique to Christianity, and virgin births, not unique to Christianity. December 25th is winter solstice, not unique to Christianity. None of this stuff is unique to Christianity. So much of it is plagiarized out of other religious beliefs. Put them all out on the table and give. That's the objective way to teach the class.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Mr. President, just to answer a few questions and wrap it up.
Senator has the floor.
I heard from the gentleman from Fairfax this is not constitutional and several questions about that. The U.S. Supreme Court has declared that teaching of the Bible as literature and history is acceptable as long as it is presently objective as part of a secular program in education.
Now, word salad. Okay. You have to have a secular program of education that teaches a non-secular class. How does that make sense? How do you do that? And how do you guarantee that the teacher, who may very well be Christian and want to advance her beliefs, isn't going to teach it subjectively? Right? How do we guarantee? That's what I need. I need a guarantee that when this class is going to be taught, that it's not going to be proselytizing and it's not going to be conversion.
That is what the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled. Next, studying the Bible doesn't mean that you're sanctioning anything. It's just the study of the literature of the Bible. The gentlelady from Richmond said the text, the denomination. If she had read the bill, it says no student who participates in the course offered pursuant to this section shall be required to use specific translations of religious text. It's there, it's in the bill.
Okay, so who cares whether you use the New International Version or the King James Version? The point is it's still religious doctrine. And it's only one religious doctrine.
Next was the gentlelady from Hampton who was talking about the use of the Bible, but yet she argued for the books that was read by a former colleague here, beloved in the bluest eyes, that Madam Clerk had to lead the students off the floor because it was so offensive. But yet she defended that to be read.
Okay, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but it's
Gentle lady.
Well, it's
Is
gentleman and gentle lady.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was ladies and gentlemen.
It's Virginia. I don't know what these books are that he's talking about, but hello, false equivalency. No.
He doesn't even know what he's talking about, clearly.
Here we go.
Oh.
Next, the gentle lady from Fairfax talked about other religions. Nobody says she can't bring a bill next year for other religions. And then she said this was opposed by the Independent Baptists. Wrong again. It's a secular Baptist group called Baptist General Association of Virginia. So
we're splitting hairs over what the name of the... Shut up.
There are several things that were mentioned on this floor as a defense against this bill that is totally out of context, and it is constitutional, and it is needed for our students that elect to want to do it.
No, it's not needed. No. You want it. We don't need it. Can we just talk about this guy for a minute? Doesn't he look like somebody you'd buy a used car from? Like,
I was going to say, when he said all
salesman?
these things are taken out of context, I was thinking his hair is taken out of context. It's really awkward.
I would hope we'd pass the bill.
Mr. President,
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
will the gentleman yield for a question?
Will Senator yield? Senator yields. You have the floor.
I would ask the senator, if we bring a bill next year for the Koran, will he vote for it?
Senator has the floor.
I would answer the gentle lady that no, I will not vote for it, just like she won't vote for this one.
And that's everything you need to know.
All right. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1502 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
All the cackling in the back.
There's the roll. Ayes 22, noes 18. Bill passes in the Senate. Now, it's in the House now, where Republicans have a 51-48 lead. If it passes the House, it'll go to the governor, but we don't even know who the governor's gonna fucking be! What the fuck is happening in Virginia right now?
I feel like this is the show title.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. God. Further proving that Carrico doesn't value actual religious freedom and only wants Christian dominionism, the day after the vote, the day after this, he walked off the Senate floor during the opening prayer, which I don't think they should even be doing, because the prayer was given by a Muslim representative from the Dar al-Noor Islamic Center.
Oh my God, what an asshat.
Right? If that doesn't tell you that this is a specifically Christian advancement mechanism, I don't know how else to show it to you. I don't know how else to demonstrate it. It's right there, clear as day.
If you can't pick up on it, sorry. Are we still in Virginia? Or
Despite all of this. Okay, no, we're moving on. Out of Virginia. Whoever keeps exposing all of these public officials in blackface, though, really deserves some kind of award. We talked about Virginia Governor and Attorney General, but surprise! Florida's got some too.
Of course we do.
Conservative firebrand Republican Representative Anthony Sabatini is facing calls for removal after damning photos from high school of him dressed in blackface surfaced. Sabatini represents District 32, which is just north of us, Lake County.
Mm-hmm.
We're in Polk County, which is basically like Highway 92 cuts east to west, and we're south, and Lake County is north.
No,
192.
I-4.
No.
Oh, 192. Okay. You said 92, and I was thinking 1792, but it's a different road.
And for our non-Floridian listeners who are just like, what the fuck? That's basically like east of Orlando.
The difference between Lake County and Polk County is that you are legally not allowed to have a fire burn in Lake County of any kind. But in Polk County, you can burn your shit no matter what.
Sabatini is refusing to resign, calling the photo a prank. The photo of Sabatini shows his face blackened, wearing gold jewelry, sunglasses, and a New York Yankees hat. again, this one too looks kind of like an attempt at a rapper. Sabatini and friend from high school claim this was just a high school prank. And I think I missed this because it is in our district, and we were concerned with our own shit, but apparently this photo was originally circulated in 2016 during the election, and they elected him anyway.
Where are all the blackface pictures of Brett Kavanaugh? That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I'm surprised that didn't come out.
Well, it might now.
So here's what Sabatini said. Right? I'm 16 years old. One of my best friends at the time was black, and we thought at the time, looking back, it was immature. It would be funny to dress as each other. He dressed in my clothes, a Ralph Lauren polo shirt, shorts, Converse, and I dressed in his clothing. None of us thought 14 years later any of us would be a public figure and the photo would be decontextualized. But wait, there's more. Another photo of Sabatini was released to the media this week, this one, where he's dressed as a sort of Mexican stereotype with a unibrow, straw hat, and poncho. Former Eustis High School classmate Stephanie Childress took the most recently released photo in 2004 and provided it to the Daily Commercial. She said, quote, "I've really stayed quiet because I get it. People shouldn't be chastised for who they are as teenagers. But Anthony's actions while in office are so similar to the antics he used to pull in high school. He found the recipe for how to get attention and how to get his point across. Controversial issues are a great way to do that, and he's continued to do it." End of quote. So does it matter that this is just stupid 16-year-olds being stupid? Shouldn't anyone wanting to get into politics have to do an inventory of the stupid shit that they've done and, like, get some statements out there in advance, maybe?
Yeah.
Because, like, in Virginia, right, Northam looks a lot worse because he was caught.
Yeah.
And the Attorney General is, like, seems to be trying to get ahead of it by before, like, I guess rumors were circulating that they had a photo of him, it existed, but it hadn't been released. There were rumors.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, let me just clear the air right now. Yes, there's a picture of me in blackface. So, like, he's trying to get out ahead of it. But I even think that's too late. I think, like, get your house clean if you're going to run for office.
Well, and I mean, I don't know if this is real life because I've never gone through the process, but I've seen plenty of TV shows where people are running for office and they have their advisor sit them down and say, listen, we need to go through your history. Is there anything that's going to come up in your... I would think if you have a good advisor, they're going to do that, and they're going to not only do it for you, they're going to do it for your spouse, your family, your kid, your whoever. Right. So is this just something that they missed because it was like, it was so long ago? I mean, a small part of me feels like, maybe it is just a thing they did that.
We all did stupid shit when we were kids. We all did.
Times have changed, and you've got to remember we are not that far away from those times when black people were oppressed and used as entertainment or you know what I mean? So it seems really bad right now, but we're still very close to it. And so it just makes me wonder, like, 20 years from now, what are we going to be saying about the, people that are in office in 20 years and what they were doing now as kids and how horrible, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how far are we going to, I don't know.
Right. And we haven't talked about this yet, but near the end of last month, after only 16 days in office, Florida Secretary of State Michael Ertel did the right thing and resigned after photos emerged of him wearing blackface, cosplaying as a Hurricane Katrina victim.
Oh, see, that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad.
At a Halloween party in 2005, photo shows Ertel in blackface and red lipstick, wearing earrings and a New Orleans Saints bandana and large fake breasts under a purple T-shirt that had Katrina victim written on it.
Oh, my God. That's just wrong. That's pretty offensive.
prior to Secretary of State, Ertl was the supervisor of elections in Seminole County for a decade.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Now, again, at the risk of everybody calling me ageist, I can't wait. I'm sorry. I personally can't wait until these old racist fucks are out of office. I can't. Like, it's no wonder that our laws and court decisions and police actions are what they are, when the people in charge grew up where bullshit garbage like this was never questioned, never challenged, accepted, and enabled. Get me some more young people in office. Can we clone AOC?
Right?
Here you go, Dan. There's one. She's my spirit animal right now. I love that woman.
Dan wants to know if Robert Downey Jr. should be in trouble for doing blackface in Tropic Thunder. And Victoria says everyone involved with that movie should be in trouble just for making that movie.
I've never seen that movie.
I've never seen it either,
Nope.
so maybe we have to have some homework.
Nope.
I don't know what it's
I'm
even
not
about.
watching that movie.
But have you seen there was an opinion piece supposedly written by a college professor, I think, about how Mary Poppins was racist because the chimney sweeps did blackface. I'm like...
So ridiculous.
Really? What? I don't know. It's just that's a little stupid.
Dan, you're right. There are plenty of young racist fucks ready to replace them. I know you're right.
But let's be a little hopeful and optimistic that all of the people that are not racist fucks will, I don't know, beat the racist fucks up.
My favorite thing about... it's not my favorite, but I like arguing this. Someone in my circle tried to make the argument of like, who was it? I'm not a movie, or I don't follow celebrities. I'm not into that stuff. Is it the Wayans did White Chicks or whatever it was?
I think it was Wayans.
How is that okay? Black people can do whiteface, but white people can't do blackface? Here's the thing. You have to consider it when we're talking about comedy in that case, right?
Right.
You have to consider the power dynamic.
Yeah.
And the history of oppression, right? So in comedy, you can punch up, but you can't punch down.
Right.
Right? If you are from an oppressed community, you can make those jokes and walk that line. But if you're of the privileged community, right? This is why black people can get on stage and go, hey, white people, ain't that funny about these white people? Aren't they stupid? And they can say that, but a white guy can't go on stage and go, let me tell you about these black people. It's a power dynamic difference. But I had somebody make this argument to me like, oh, well, why is it okay for them to do?
Is Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire ageist?
Well, there's going to be a transgender thing or whatever
that
there
too,
right? Drag or whatnot.
There's so many I just feel like sometimes when you go down that rabbit hole of in the movies or in TV, you can't always make that argument, and you have to really look at the intentions and what the intention of the show is and what the intention of the character is.
Right. Right, because art like that is in, if it's done right, should be a reflection.
Right.
Right? We're supposed to go watch movies, and the goal is to entertain us while subliminally reflecting society and things back onto us for us to think about and go,
I mean, I think about the opinion that, okay, well, there's not a lot of trans representation, and if you're going to have a movie about a trans person, you should put a trans person in that role.
Right.
Like, that's like a really good example of that. But I see the trans community being like kind of, I don't even know what the right word is. They're not really okay with a cis person playing a trans role.
Right.
And that's understandable. But I don't think that they're gonna, for the most part, push back on that because it's still giving them some kind of exposure. But if you're using a role to ostracize or I don't know. We got way down a rabbit hole here.
Yeah, that's all right. Victoria says, does that mean I can make a movie about pretending to be a cis man? Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You can make whatever you want, honey, and we'll watch it. Maybe.
Let's be honest. I really don't watch a lot of movies.
We don't.
Okay, in possibly some good news, while the Supreme Court has been recently jammed full of conservatives, and Trump promised on the campaign trail to specifically install justices that would be so-called pro-life, pro-forced birth is what I think they should be called, SCOTUS temporarily blocked abortion restrictions in Louisiana. But don't get too excited just yet. So to understand what's going on in Louisiana, let's go back a little bit and look at Texas. Of course, Texas. Sorry, Megan. In 2013, Texas passed an abortion law that applied ridiculously strict requirements on abortion clinics, resulting in many shutdowns, which we know from all reliable data, making abortions harder doesn't decrease abortions, it makes them exponentially unsafe. The Texas law required doctors have admitting privileges at a hospital no more than 30 miles away and set standards about how big rooms and doorways had to be, and certain staffing and anesthesia requirements. So basically, the clinic would have had to meet the same standards of a hospital room, which in many clinics would have required upgrades to the building and safety and parking and all of this stuff to meet the standard. There were 42 clinics prior to that 2013 law in Texas. That number tanked down to only 19. And in case you've forgotten somehow, Texas is a giant fucking chunk of land. 19 clinics. Imagine trying to find one that's near you, that's accessible. A lawsuit challenging that law, Whole Woman's Health versus Hellerstedt, ultimately came before the Supreme Court in June of 2016, with Antonin Scalia passing during this case. SCOTUS ruled 5-3 that Texas cannot place restrictions on the delivery of abortion services that create an undue burden for women seeking abortion. Both provisions, the admitting privileges provision and the clinic facilities upgrade provision, were ruled unconstitutional. And this came down to undue burden. Laws that impose an undue burden on a fundamental right are unconstitutional under current Supreme Court cases. These restrictions would clearly force a lot of clinics to shut down. Justice Breyer wrote in that opinion that the law had no evidence of providing any protection for women's health, and he found that if the law were to take effect, the number of Texan women living more than 200 miles from the nearest abortion clinic would increase from 10,000 to 750,000. Oh my God. Okay, so put a pin in the undue burden thing for a second, and let's jump back to Louisiana. Louisiana looked at the Texas law and thought, man, maybe we could water this down a little bit and still get it to pass, so we can get those baby killings to stop. Their law, enacted in 2014 but never put into effect, only requires abortion providers to have admitting privileges at a hospital within 30 miles of the clinic, right? So it doesn't have the room has to be 30 by 30 and the doorway has to be this width, right? They argue that it wouldn't have the same effects as the Texas law, so it should pass the undue burden test and be constitutional. So, the abortion providers last week asked the Supreme Court to bar Louisiana from enacting the admitting privileges requirement until they had time to file a petition for cert and have it reviewed. On February 1st, hours after normal court business, late at night, SCOTUS put the law on hold indefinitely until they can review the petition or hear oral argument and rule on the law's constitutionality. The conservative bloc of justices, Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh, all indicated that they would have denied the provider's request and let the law go into effect. Chief Justice John Roberts joined the four more liberal justices in granting the stay. So, a couple of things I want to say about this. First, will the court find that the admitting privileges requirement indeed places an undue burden on abortion providers? So according to legal filings, there are only 3 abortion clinics in the whole goddamn state to begin with. 3 in all of Louisiana. Are there other restrictive laws affecting this? Is it an undue burden to ask these providers to all go to whatever paperwork ring toss is required to gain admitting privileges? That's the question. Brett, I Like Beer Kavanaugh, wrote his own oddly specific dissent in the June Medical Services LLC application for stay decision, foreshadowing the way he will consider the case if they decide to hear it. He writes, Louisiana's new law requires doctors who perform abortions to have admitting privileges at a nearby hospital. The question presented to us at this time is whether the law imposes an undue burden under our decision in Whole Woman's Health v. Hellerstedt, 2016. All parties, including the state of Louisiana, agree that Whole Woman's Health is the governing precedent for purposes of this stay application. I therefore will analyze the stay application under that precedent. He continues, Louisiana has 3 clinics that currently provide abortions. As relevant here, 4 doctors perform abortions at those 3 clinics. One of these 4 doctors has admitting privileges at a nearby hospital, as required by the new law. The question is whether the other 3 doctors, Doe 2, 5, and 6, can obtain the necessary admitting privileges. If they can, then the 3 clinics could continue providing abortions. And if so, then the new law would not impose an undue burden for the purposes of Whole Woman's Health. By contrast, if the 3 doctors cannot obtain admitting privileges, then 1 or 2 of the 3 clinics would not be able to continue providing abortions. If so, then even the state acknowledges that the new law might be deemed to impose an undue burden for purposes of Whole Woman's Health. You can read into that a couple of different ways. And remember, this is the guy that, during his confirmation hearings was all, yes, I will rule on the precedent, and but also, he was selected for the purposes of, being a conservative hack, sort of, that would try to undermine or destroy Roe v. Wade. Now, he's writing on the issue of whether or not to grant the stay. Not on the merits of the case. Not on the actual case itself.
Right.
Right? He's saying, yes, we'll put a stay in order to prevent this law from going into effect and give you some time to file petition for cert for the Supreme Court so we can come and hear oral argument. Second, elections have fucking consequences. There's no guarantee that Roberts would vote with the more liberal justices in a formal review of the case. And we don't need Trump appointing any more goddamn Supreme Court justices.
Swear to God.
Reminds me, somebody took off Ruth's bubble wrap dress.
The little one was in here playing with those, and I think she might have
did.
busted Obama's elbow, too.
What?
It was in pieces. I had to put them back together.
Oh, shit. I didn't know it came apart like that.
I don't think it was supposed to. It looked like the little plastic piece at the joint of his elbow was like...
Okay, Ruth is reprotected now.
Reprotected. She's...
It'll be a sad day.
I don't even want to think about it. No.
Okay. The city of Tampa's ban on conversion therapy was challenged in court, and you'll be gobsmacked at what the judge said. Conversion therapy, of course, isn't therapy at all, but a dangerous practice of reaffirming religious beliefs that gay and trans people are broken and sinful and just need prayer, or maybe electric shock, so that God can make you not gay anymore. The damage of conversion programs, even just talk therapy or pray the gay away ones, is well documented. People subjected to this pseudo-therapy often face depression, difficulty with intimate relationships, loss of social support networks, lowered self-esteem, and increases in self-harm and suicidal thoughts and attempts. But never mind all that. An injunction was issued last week against Tampa's ban on conversion therapy because, according to this judge, it likely violates the free speech rights of the conversion therapists. At this point, you could probably just assume this without me telling you, but SPLC-designated Christian hate group Liberty Counsel, on behalf of two so-called conversion therapists, is behind the lawsuit. I can't even call them therapists. This isn't therapy, you guys. U.S. Magistrate Judge Amanda Arnold Sansone ruled that conversion is a form of speech protected by the First Amendment, and that the city was likely engaging in viewpoint discrimination. In her ruling, she said that conversion therapy is speech, not conduct, as long as it's limited to speech and doesn't involve techniques like electric shocks. But what if it involves other techniques, like mandatory Bible study or prayer? Then it's not speech, right? Once you've asked a client to perform a thing, to do an action, you're compelling them to do a thing, then it's not speech anymore. She said that while the city has an interest in protecting minors from harm, there were alternatives to an outright ban, like getting informed consent from minors, except minors who would find themselves at Conversion Ministries Incorporated were probably brought there by their homophobic parents who may have threatened to kick them out unless they become not gay. Those kids can't give any kind of meaningful consent. This whole thing is just fucking garbage. Conversion therapy's harm greatly outweigh any good that might come out of it. Both the Third and Ninth Circuit appellate courts have upheld bans on the practice, and the Supreme Court has so far refused to hear any appeals cases where the circuit courts have ruled in favor of conversion therapy bans. The American Academy of Pediatrics, American Psychiatric Association, American Psychological Association, American Psychoanalytical Association, and American College of Physicians have all denounced conversion therapy as ineffective, flawed, and risky. Already, 20 governments here in Florida, including Tampa, have adopted conversion therapy bans, more than any other state in the nation, which is probably the first positive thing I've had to say about Florida ever. And Florida State Senator Jose Javier Rodriguez has introduced Senate Bill 84 to prohibit conversion therapy on minors statewide, which, of course, Liberty Counsel will probably litigate if it passes. Again, the magistrate's opinion will be reviewed by a federal judge, and who knows what happens next. But again, like, even though it's pseudoscience, if you're a consenting adult and you want to willingly subject yourself to Pray the Gay Away camp, I don't agree with it. I think it's dangerous. But I think as an adult in a free society, if you can give consent and you want to do that, you should be free to do it. But you shouldn't be able to force kids into this garbage quackery.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry you missed that.
I'm sorry. Child needed help. He couldn't find his medicine.
Oh. All right. We're about to wrap the show up here. We're going to do a Florida man. The longest Florida man story.
So how are you saying we're about to wrap it up? It's a long story.
Okay, maybe not about to. Maybe that's not the right word. To the Gatormobile. Let's go.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. Roger. Ready to move out.
In the goofiest fucking Florida story you'll hear all week, maybe, I don't know. Madeira Beach Commissioner Nancy Oakley resigned this week after the Florida Ethics Commission issued a report on its findings that Oakley possibly violated state law by exhibiting inappropriate behavior at a fishing tournament in 2012. In a 23-page document, which I'm not going to read entirely,
Thank you,
from
Jesus.
the Division of Administrative Hearings, the Ethics Commission lays out the facts of Oakley's antics and provided their recommendation. So I've cut a lot of this out, but listen to this. Under findings of fact, respondent served as city commissioner of Madeira Beach from 2007 to March 2013 and was reelected to the office in March 2017. Mr. Palladino told the new Madeira Beach city manager, Shane Crawford, that he wanted an outdoor meeting since they are a beach community. In November 2012, an outdoor city commission meeting was held in conjunction with the King of the Beach tournament, a fishing tournament occurring biannually in Madeira Beach. The meeting was to recognize Bimini, Bahamas, as Madeira Beach's sister city, with a presentation of a key to the city and a proclamation. That's a weird thing we do, isn't it? A sister city thing? No. Anyway. The King of the Beach tournament is organized by the Old Salt Fishing Foundation. The event was held on a baseball field, having field lights, which turned on as it started to get dark. Respondent was present at this event in her official capacity to participate in the meeting. She had consumed alcohol at the all-day fishing tournament. Then city clerk Amy Cervedio could not attend this meeting, so a substitute was required or the meeting could not go forward. Ms. McGrady, prior to her becoming Ms. Crawford, had been assigned the role of deputy clerk and was prepared to take minutes. Respondent dislikes Ms. Crawford because she believed, without any proof produced at a hearing, and a firm denial at a hearing by Ms. Crawford, that she and Shane Crawford were having an affair at the time of the meeting at issue, which was prior to their marriage. The City Commission could not start the meeting the evening after the tournament because respondent refused to go on stage due to Ms. McGrady's role as deputy clerk. There was a heated discussion between Shane Crawford, Ms. McGrady, and respondent. Respondent actually refused to attend the meeting if Ms. McGrady was present, and demanded that she be removed from the area. Mr. Palladino and an official Bimini representative were in the vicinity of the heated discussion. Referring to Ms. McGrady, and in her presence, Mr. Palladino heard respondent say, "You need to get that fucking bitch out of here." Mr. Palladino rushed in to move the Bimini representative away from the situation. Lynn Rossetti, who at the time was the planning and zoning director, had to fill in because respondent refused to attend the meeting if city employee Ms. McGrady was allowed to substitute for the city clerk. Respondent's actions interfered with Ms. McGrady's job duties. After the meeting was over, respondent approached Shane Crawford with Ms. McGrady, David Marsicano, and his then-wife Shelley, and Nicole Brandenburg, also in the immediate areas. You don't need to memorize all these names or follow the bouncing ball. Just stick with me. Using her tongue, respondent licked city manager Shane Crawford up the side of his neck and face. This act was witnessed by Ms. McGrady, Mr. Marsicano, Mr. Bredenberg, and Mr. Verdinsky. Respondent then groped city manager Shane Crawford by grabbing his penis and buttocks. This act was witnessed by Ms. McGrady and Mr. Bredenberg. Respondent then threw a punch at Ms. McGrady after she told respondent that her actions were inappropriate. Mr. Marsicano's ex-wife intervened and confronted respondent. Mr. Verdinsky, who testified that he had been licked by respondent on a different occasion,
Holy Jesus.
called for the head of security, Joseph Campagnola. Why do they have such hard names? Mr. Campagnola arrived between 1 to 2 minutes after the call. By the time he arrived, respondent was walking away. However, he found Shane Crawford, Ms. McGrady, and Ms. Marsicano. He was told by Mr. Crawford that respondent licked his face and grabbed him, which was corroborated by the other two. Michael Maximo is the former Madera Beach County Community Services Director. He testified that he had been licked by respondent on a different occasion during the soft opening of Bubba Gump's restaurant in Johns Pass Village. He recalled the details of the specific incident and said respondent was inebriated at the time, and she came over to him and licked his face and neck in the presence of her husband, who quickly escorted her from the building. Mr. Maximo refuted the testimony of respondent's witness, as his knowledge of respondent's reputation in the community was as a, quote, fall-down drunk who should not be representing the community. This was a different picture from the one painted by respondent's friends who, while admitting she liked to have a drink or several with them and others, they could not imagine her licking someone in public. Each of respondent's witnesses testified that respondent does not have a reputation for licking the faces of people. It's almost done. Or they had never heard anyone say that respondent licks the faces of men and women, or other testimony similar in nature. The unusual and unwanted act of licking someone's face in public is not the type of behavior generally considered when talking about someone's reputation in the community. If someone's reputation was as a serial face licker, most likely that person would have suffered some consequences for such repeated unwanted contact. The issue here is not whether respondent, quote, does this all the time, but whether she publicly licked the face of 4 testifying witnesses, one of whom was attacked in the highly public setting of a city commission meeting. The following matters, all of which were testified at the hearing, tend to adversely affect or at least negatively reflect upon a person's, in this case respondent's, good character. Arrest for DUI, arrest for petty theft, disciplinary employment action, forced resignation from employment, and perpetrating a USPS mail hoax. I cut all of they go into detail on that, but I cut all that out. Their recommendation, based on the foregoing findings of fact and conclusion of law, it is recommended that the Florida Commission on Ethics enter a final order finding that respondent Nancy Oakley violated Section 112.313, subsection 6 Florida statutes, and imposing a public censure and reprimand and a civil penalty of $5,000 for being a serial face licker. What? I don't...
Oh. No.
There you go.
Thanks for not actually licking my face.
You're welcome.
The dog was licking me all through that story.
The dog was licking me too. Thank you very much. Oh, God. Victoria, you're great. Damn, she can't hold her liquor.
That's funny. I like it.
Oh, that was so good. Oh. What do we got coming up? We got anything coming up on the show? I don't think I have anything.
I don't know.
No. I will tell you, before we go, that I am scheduled to do my speaking engagement in Orlando. I'll give you details about that on an upcoming show, and we'll create an event in the various pages and groups that we run, so that if you're local to Orlando and you want to come out and see that, you can do that. That'll be fun.
Are you going to be able to record it and post it?
I need to check with David, because I know they record them. So the question will be, can I just get a copy from them and permission to post it, or can I,
do your own,
pack this up, part of it, and just the camera and the...
Did you order a recorder? Do you think they'll have it by then?
It's an audio recorder.
Yeah.
I can record the audio. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I'm talking about recording video too and putting it on our YouTube.
Oh.
What? All right. Let's wrap the show up. And thank you guys for joining us in the Facebook Live tonight. That was a lot of fun. We had some good comments and folks in the chat. I always appreciate that because it's a much boring show when it's just me screaming into the void. So I appreciate that.
No, Dan, we cannot talk about that yet.
No, almost. Maybe.
Hopefully.
And before we go, I do also want to thank our top patrons. Part-time patron Russell, Mandy Imus, Trolling for Soup.
Is that John?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
We ride for the wayward Willis. Sorry, Secular Soup. And our unofficial live researcher, Dan. Thank you all so much for supporting us. The recorder should be here on Monday.
And Gizmo's barking.
So I'm excited to get that in.
Yeah.
And the other stuff that we've ordered too, like we have some business cards coming and some T-shirts coming and stuff that's coming. I can't wait. It's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, so that's it for us tonight. We want to thank once again Chris and Marc from the Spectrum Arts Society for joining us. Despite all the crazy shit going on in Virginia, that's the beacon of light. Go check out Hill City Pride, and we'll see you next week. You've been listening to SarahTalk.
SarahTalk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. The opinions and information provided on this show are intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions are solely that of the hosts and their guests. We make no representations as to accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or validity of any information and will not be liable for any errors or damages. SarahTalk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.